Imagine a world where your passport, a symbol of freedom and exploration, is rendered useless in certain countries, a world where your cultural identity becomes a barrier to entry. Today, we're embarking on a journey that's both intriguing and thought-provoking. We're going to explore 10 countries that have imposed travel restrictions on Filipino citizens. This isn't about judgment or condemnation. It's about understanding the complexities of international relations and the factors that influence travel policies. Before we dive into the list, let's ask ourselves, why would these countries restrict Filipino travel? Are there historical, political, or economic reasons? Join us as we unravel the mysteries behind these travel bans.
Chapter 1: North Korea. North Korea, often shrouded in secrecy, is infamous for its strict immigration policies, making it extremely challenging for Filipinos to visit. This hermit kingdom maintains rigid control over its borders and enforces severe restrictions on foreign visitors. Despite the Philippines having diplomatic relations with North Korea, obtaining a visa is an arduous and often futile process, typically ending in denial. The North Korean government meticulously controls the flow of information into and out of the country. A key reason for these stringent measures, those few who manage to gain entry must strictly adhere to a host of regulations, with constant surveillance by government officials. Any misstep, intentional or not, can lead to severe consequences, underscoring the unwelcoming nature of North Korea for Filipino travelers. The political climate in North Korea adds another layer of unpredictability, further complicating travel plans. Even for those with legitimate reasons to visit, the bureaucratic barriers are daunting, and the overall experience can be highly stressful. Visitors are closely monitored, with limited freedom to explore or interact with locals. This intense scrutiny and the potential for severe repercussions make North Korea one of the most unwelcoming destinations for Filipinos. The combination of isolationist policies, strict government control, and a volatile political environment renders North Korea an extremely challenging and risky country for Filipino travelers in 2024. Chapter 2: Iran. Iran's political situation and international sanctions have significantly influenced its travel policies, making it a challenging destination for Filipinos. The Iranian government imposes strict visa requirements, often necessitating a sponsor within the country. This bureaucratic process can be arduous, with many applications ending in rejection. Filipinos, like many other nationalities, may face additional scrutiny due to geopolitical tensions and the complex relationship between Iran and Western allied nations. Despite its rich history and cultural heritage, these factors create considerable obstacles for Filipino travelers attempting to visit Iran. Moreover, the stringent Islamic laws and customs in Iran can pose significant challenges for Filipino visitors. Cultural restrictions, such as mandatory dress codes and limitations on public behavior, require careful adherence to avoid legal repercussions. Reports of detentions and close monitoring of tourists further contribute to the perception of Iran as an unwelcoming destination. The combination of strict visa policies, cultural barriers, and potential risks make Iran a daunting place for Filipinos to visit in 2024. While the country's historical sites and cultural experiences may be enticing, the difficulties in navigating its legal and social landscape often deter Filipino travelers. Chapter 3: Syria. Given the ongoing civil war and humanitarian crisis, Syria remains one of the most dangerous countries in the world. Travel advisories strongly recommend avoiding the country, and for Filipinos, entering Syria is nearly impossible. The Syrian government has imposed stringent visa requirements and heightened security measures, making it extremely difficult for foreign nationals to gain entry. These measures are necessary due to the severe risks of violence, kidnapping, and other security concerns that plague the region. The government's tight control over entry is aimed at mitigating these threats, but it also means that tourists, including Filipinos, are effectively barred from visiting. Even those who manage to secure entry face immense dangers. Humanitarian workers and journalists, who typically have more robust support systems and security protocols, are still at significant risk. The volatile situation on the ground includes the constant threat of bombings, armed conflicts, and lawlessness. For Filipino tourists seeking to explore new destinations, Syria is a non-option in 2024. The combination of the ongoing conflict, strict government control, and the high risk of severe consequences creates an overwhelmingly hostile environment. This makes Syria one of the least welcoming and most perilous countries for Filipino travelers. Chapter 4: Yemen. Yemen, plagued by relentless conflict and political instability, has effectively closed its borders to most foreign nationals, including Filipinos. The ongoing civil war has wreaked havoc on the country, creating a perilous environment that poses significant dangers to travelers. The devastating humanitarian crisis further exacerbates the risks, with essential services and infrastructure in disarray. Due to these severe conditions, travel advisories worldwide strongly recommend avoiding Yemen, making it an impossible destination for Filipinos in 2024. The visa process in Yemen is practically non-existent, reflecting the government's lack of control over large portions of the country. Even if one were to navigate the bureaucratic hurdles, the reality on the ground is grim. Those who do manage to enter face extreme risks, including violence and kidnapping. The presence of various armed groups and the general lawlessness add to the dangers, making Yemen one of the most hostile and unwelcoming places for any traveler. For Filipino tourists, the severe security threats and unstable environment ensure that Yemen remains off-limits in 2024, reinforcing its position as a highly uninviting destination. Chapter 5: Libya. Libya, beset by political turmoil and security challenges, has become an increasingly perilous destination for foreign nationals, including Filipinos. The ongoing conflict and lack of a stable government have led to stringent travel restrictions, with the Libyan government imposing severe visa limitations to curb the influx of foreigners. The convoluted and often futile visa process adds to the difficulty, with many applications ending in rejection, even for those who manage to obtain a visa. Entering Libya comes with significant risks due to the country's instability. Once inside Libya, the dangers escalate. The risks of violence, kidnappings, and general instability are alarmingly high, driven by the presence of various armed groups and the absence of effective law enforcement. The lack of basic infrastructure and essential services further exacerbates the challenges for any traveler. This hostile environment makes Libya one of the least welcoming and most dangerous places for Filipino travelers in 2024. The combination of a complex visa process, severe security threats, and inadequate infrastructure ensures that Libya remains a highly uninviting destination. For Filipinos, the prudent choice is to avoid travel to Libya altogether, given the extreme dangers and uncertainties involved. Chapter 6: Sudan. Sudan has been grappling with significant political upheaval and civil unrest in recent years, resulting in a precarious security situation that poses considerable risks for travelers. The government's response to ongoing protests and instability has included imposing strict restrictions on foreign travel, making the visa process particularly challenging for Filipinos. Even those who manage to navigate the bureaucratic hurdles to obtain a visa face a volatile environment upon arrival. The pervasive instability and frequent demonstrations make it advisable for Filipino travelers to avoid Sudan in 2024. The security situation in Sudan is marked by frequent clashes between protesters and security forces, adding to the country's overall unpredictability. Traveling within Sudan can be fraught with danger, as violence can erupt without warning. The lack of consistent law enforcement and the presence of armed groups further complicate matters, heightening the risks for foreign visitors. For Filipinos, the combination of stringent travel restrictions, a convoluted visa process, and an unstable security environment make Sudan one of the most unwelcoming destinations. The potential threats to safety and well-being ensure that Sudan remains a highly advised against destination for Filipino travelers in 2024. Chapter 7: Somalia. Somalia, plagued by terrorism and piracy, remains one of the most dangerous countries in the world for travelers. The ongoing conflict and lack of a stable government have resulted in a highly volatile environment, prompting the Somali government to close its borders to most foreign nationals, including Filipinos. Obtaining a visa for Somalia is nearly impossible, and even if granted, the risks associated with entering the country are extremely high. The presence of various terrorist groups, such as Al-Shabaab, and rampant piracy off its coast contribute to an exceedingly perilous situation. Travel within Somalia is fraught with dangers, as violence and kidnappings are common occurrences. The lack of effective law enforcement and the absence of basic infrastructure further exacerbate the risks for any foreign visitor. For Filipino travelers, the combination of severe security threats, a nearly non-existent visa process, and an unpredictable political climate makes Somalia an unwelcoming and hazardous destination. In 2024, Somalia remains one of the least accessible and most dangerous countries for Filipino tourists, reinforcing the advisories to avoid travel to this conflict-ridden nation. Chapter 8: Central African Republic. The Central African Republic, CAR, has been marred by persistent violence and political instability for years, creating a perilous environment for travelers. The government's imposition of strict travel restrictions reflects the severe security concerns that plague the country. For Filipinos, visiting the CAR is highly discouraged due to the ongoing risks of violence and kidnapping. The pervasive instability and frequent armed conflicts make the security situation extremely dangerous, significantly deterring any potential visitors. In CAR, the risks extend beyond the immediate threats of violence and abductions. The lack of effective governance and widespread lawlessness contribute to an environment where travelers face constant danger. The absence of reliable infrastructure and essential services further complicates the situation, making it a daunting destination for anyone considering a visit. For Filipino travelers, the combination of intense security threats and the government's travel restrictions reinforces the advisories to avoid the Central African Republic in 2024. The country's tumultuous conditions make it one of the most unwelcoming and hazardous places to travel. Chapter 9: South Sudan. South Sudan, the world's youngest nation, has been embroiled in conflict and instability since gaining independence. The ongoing strife and lack of effective governance have led the South Sudanese government to impose strict restrictions on foreign travel. For Filipinos, visiting South Sudan is strongly discouraged due to the volatile security situation. The risks of violence, armed clashes, and instability are high, making travel to this country particularly dangerous. The security environment in South Sudan remains precarious, with frequent outbreaks of violence and limited control over large areas of the country. The lack of reliable infrastructure and essential services exacerbates the risks for any foreign visitors. The pervasive instability and ongoing conflicts make South Sudan a highly unwelcoming destination. For Filipino travelers, the combination of stringent travel restrictions and significant security threats ensures that South Sudan is a country best avoided in 2024. The overall risk involved underscores the advisories against travel to this conflict-ridden nation. Chapter 10: Afghanistan. Since the Taliban's takeover, Afghanistan has imposed stringent travel restrictions, effectively closing its borders to most foreign nationals, including Filipinos. The security situation in the country is highly unstable, with frequent reports of violence and conflict. The Taliban's control has led to a significant deterioration in the overall safety and governance, making travel to Afghanistan extremely dangerous. The risks of encountering armed conflicts, terrorist attacks, and other security threats are high, deterring most potential visitors. For Filipino travelers, the combination of strict entry restrictions and severe security concerns makes Afghanistan one of the least welcoming destinations. The ongoing instability and the Taliban's restrictive policies create an environment where safety is a major concern. The lack of reliable infrastructure and the constant threat of violence reinforced the advisories against travel. In 2024, Afghanistan remains a country where the risks far outweigh any potential benefits, making it strongly advisable to avoid travel to this conflict-ridden nation. As we've seen, these 10 countries, North Korea, Iran, Syria, Yemen, Libya, Sudan, Somalia, Central African Republic, South Sudan, and Afghanistan pose significant challenges and dangers for Filipino travelers in 2024, from strict visa requirements to volatile security situations. These destinations are marked by instability and risk, making them unwelcoming and hazardous for those seeking to explore new places. Your safety should always be the top priority when considering travel, and it's essential to heed travel advisories and restrictions. If you found this information useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more insights into travel and global issues. Stay informed and stay safe on your adventures.